Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to follow us, we're on Facebook, X-Zone Radio TV. You can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn. My goodness, where aren't we? And we're also on all other social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 724, 365, no matter where you are in the world, at www.xzoneradiotv.com, or else you can listen to us via phone, area code 213-401-0080. That's area code 213-401-0080. My guest this hour is Jesse Bravo. He is the premier psychic medium in New York City, who's sourced by media, and his predictions can be found in magazines and media outlets throughout the world. Psychic Jesse Bravo provides his insights into spiritual world to such media outlets as ABC News and MTV, just to name a few, because he is one of the most exciting real psychics on the planet. Joining us now is Jesse Bravo. And Jesse, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
How are things in the Big Apple tonight?
It's a heavy heart today. We had one of our big figures in the psychic community die today, so it's a little bit of a sad day.
Who passed?
A good friend of mine, Colin Fry from England.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, and it's always terrible when you have the iconic people who, for me, I don't know about you, but I respect people who 35, 40 years ago were saying they're psychic when it wasn't so cool to be psychic.
That's true.
You know, like today you tell somebody you're psychic and they're like, hey, you want to come to our party next week because you're some type of tchotchke or something. But, these guys were pounding the pavement when it wasn't so cool, and people were calling them quacks, and it was labeled as the occult, and they worked really hard to build the inroads of what we have today.
Jesse, what was it that happened in your life that put you on the road to being, the great psychic that you are?
Oh, I was born with this gift from a young age, and I didn't understand what I had, and I definitely didn't speak to anyone about it. But, it didn't reemerge into my life until much, much later when I had my son. And he was exhibiting the same things I did when I was young, and it sort of brought everything back in one shot.
What kind of things was he exhibiting that triggered this incredible journey that you're on?
Well, essentially, it was me and my ex-wife,
right?
And she was my wife at the time, and it was our first apartment, and we were renting in this neighborhood, and so he was about 2 or 3 years old. And he was waking up with bruises on his thighs and his back and things like that. And I don't know, when you have an active child,
Yeah.
you mark it up to just being a child, but then it was just too peculiar. And when he started to talk, he started to say, there's a woman in my room. And he would go in there and he said, get off my bed. That's my bed. And it wasn't until events like that happened that it reemerged in me. I had suppressed it so far down in my psyche that it all came back so fast.
Wow. So how old were you when you decided, all right, I'm going to take the bull by the horns here and I'm just going to do the psychic bit?
Oh, boy. That was a long, lengthy process.
Yeah.
And I remember the process of making the decision because, my full-time employment is I'm an investment banker on Wall Street.
Right.
So, it's a white shoe industry. And when unfortunately by media and also bad practices of an industry, when you think of a psychic, you really do believe or just envision that gypsy in the store with the neon lights on that, takes you in for a $5 palm reading. And next thing you know, she's convinced you that you're possessed and trying to get thousands of dollars out of you. So when I was making that decision, this is what I had to face if I decided I wanted to come forward. And, I did do that with my wife at the time, and we made the decisions that we will deal with whatever it was. And we did that, and I will tell you that it was not easy.
No, speaking about investments on Wall Street, were you able to pick up on what was going on these last couple of days in China and how it affected the U.S. markets?
Well, I knew that because I follow just the regular economics, the macroeconomics.
Right.
But when it comes to my ability, I am very sure to have a disconnect between the two worlds.
Really?
For me, spirituality and money don't mix very well.
Then if you don't mind me asking you this question, Jess, why is it that I've been told by many psychics, including Kenny Kingston and other ones that I have the utmost respect for, that one of the main questions that is always asked of them is about a person's financial status?
Well, do you say in terms of them being concerned about it, or in what terms?
Well, for example, am I going to come into money, or how can I how can I get more money?
It's that one is it's a cultural thing,
right.
And I mean it's the bottom line is that I guess everybody's taught when they're small, the more money you have, the better your life is, and the greatest of times that will happen, and the riches and the golds and the gems, right? And when people aren't getting that, they come to the conclusion, how is life screwing me? When am I getting mines, right? And sometimes that's something that you have to negotiate and sort of tread lightly on that to say, hey, look, no one guaranteed you anything.
That's right.
Other than death and taxes, and if something's coming for you, it will, and if it doesn't, you're still okay. And that's not an easy thing to say to anyone.
No, and they're the people in life I feel very bad for, because the riches are there. They just have a misunderstanding of what riches are.
Many times when you, and not particularly for, and I'm not saying this about everybody, but I'm just saying plenty of times I see people and they say, you go into a room of 1,000 people and you say, hey, look who here wants to be rich. And I bet you all of them raise their hand.
Of course.
But you can't do it while you're sitting down on a couch watching TV all night. It's just not going to happen.
Bingo.
You sort of got to leave the house to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Or leave the house to meet Mr. or Miss Right, whoever you're looking for in your life, unless you're waiting for the pizza delivery guy or UPS to come to your door.
At least you get free pizza, right?
I guess, eh?
Free deliveries.
There you go. See, a silver lining to every cloud. All right, he only earns $4.08 an hour, but you know what, Ma? I get the best damn pizza going. God damn it, he puts double cheese and double pepperoni on it for me.
We'll never starve. We'll never starve.
Where do you get your information from? Are you clairaudient, clairsentient? Do you see it in your mind's eye? Or do you get it from the Akashic records? Where does Jesse Bravo get his information from that he relates to those who sit in front of him?
When I turn this on,
yeah,
it comes from sometimes varying sources, and it's quite comical for me when I speak to some people in the industry,
mm-hmm.
and they have the most I mean, for me, I'm very down to earth. So when you sit with somebody, you're like, oh, 18,000 angels came to me, and they gave me this information, and I talked to God. I get it sometimes from varying sources, and sometimes I hear something in my mind, or sometimes I get a very small fragment of a picture,
mm-hmm.
or sometimes there's somebody there that, and it's very rarely that you'll actually see somebody just standing there and just talking to you physically, but that doesn't happen often. So it comes in drift and drabs, and I couldn't really tell you if you put a gun to my head and say, you tell me where this is coming from. Rob, anybody that comes out there and says that they can tell you 100% where they're coming from, they're either disillusional or they're lying.
Yeah, I agree. We used to take the show on the road, and we used to go to all the different psychic fairs, and you're doing your broadcast, and or before the show or after the show, you're always doing your setup, you're at your booth, whatever. And I used to sit there and watch these people come in, and they'd go from psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic. Then they'd stop. That's because that psychic told them what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, I call that the psychic polling.
Yeah.
They poll. Look, if you talk to enough people, somebody is going to tell you what you want to hear. And I will tell you, Rob, that's how my approach is completely different. I decided if I'm going to do this,
mm-hmm.
I got to do this right. And here's what I mean by right. For me, I'm not saying for anybody else. I'm just talking for me.
Yeah.
What's right for me is when I get on the phone for a client who's looking to take up my services, I tell them straight from the get, I am not here to tell you what you want to hear. And if that is what you're looking for, please don't bother me again. Find someone else. I'm not interested. Because if Spirit's telling me to tell you something and you're just going to listen, I don't need your money. I don't want it. I'd rather help you. And if that's not the solution you're looking for, I'm not the right person. I'm sure you can find somebody, just not me.
Wow. You take responsibility.
Well, here's the whole thing, and it really hit home today, and it hurt me that some people were making some very terrible remarks on Colin's death, is that our industry as a whole, meaning, and I'm lumping you in because I got to put you into this industry too because you're a part of it, right? There's so many segments of it.
Mm-hmm.
Our industry as a whole doesn't really have a great reputation, and it doesn't have a great track record. So I'm going to be damned if I don't do my best to do my part so that when I eventually pass, if somebody's going to take a cheap shot at me, it's literally going to be a cheap shot, and it's not going to be the truth.
Well, my experience has been that those who take the cheap shots are those who are envious of the person's true heart and the true way that they are really seen. That cheap shots are also a result of envy, of greed, and all the other negativity that these people have in their lives.
I agree, and even when I read these comments, I say, everybody has a right to have their opinion.
Yeah.
So when I read it, though it hurts me greatly when somebody talks about somebody that you really like, I still have to accept that that's their reality. It's not mine.
what has been your pivotal moment to this point as a psychic?
In terms of what? There's so many different parts that my life has changed and moved, but in what respect?
A life that you have changed of someone who came to you seeking the word of spirit, who was willing to listen.
Well, there's a lot of those cases. Let's see, which one can I divulge?
Without using names.
Yeah, without using names. Oh boy, you know what? Let's see. I'm trying to go in my mind's eye here. I will tell you one that was funny.
Okay.
Sometimes when you get imagery because something's not happened currently, the answer that you give to somebody is so out of the realm of reality, or so outlandish that you're almost scared to let it come out of your mouth, right? So I was doing a reading for a young lady, and I looked at her, and as I looked at her and I was thinking about her terms of her relationships, I see a raptor, like a dinosaur. And I'm saying to myself, what the hell does it have to do with a relationship? Is somebody being an animalistic? Is this prehistoric? So I go and I tell her, I said, listen, in terms of relationship, I said, all I see these dinosaurs, but they're involved in your relationship coming up. And, you know, the girl looked at me and she said, okay, I can't remotely understand how this fits into my life. And we let that be as a visual marker. And a couple of months later, she sent me back an email, and it always starts the same way. It's always OMG, like oh my God, right? And she said the reason why you saw these prehistoric animals is that, you know, my new boyfriend, he's the curator for the Museum of Natural History, and he's in charge of that sector.
Oh wow!
So here it is. I saw something that was so outlandish that I was even afraid to talk about. But my job is to be a vehicle, and if it is truly not me, then it is none of my business of how crazy the message may sound.
Do you always deal with one spirit, one guide, or do you deal with many?
Many. I have to say that I deal with many, and I believe that I deal with many because as we change as people, we no longer know life the way that it was before, and what seemed correct today may not be correct tomorrow. And I feel that as you evolve, well, I'm not saying as I evolve, let me change that. Let me change this to me. As I evolve into a better human being, hopefully, that different guides will work with me to take me off from that point to the next point. And as I evolve, my guides evolve. And sometimes when you deal with clients, if their family walks in, like their mother, their father, their relatives, you sort of have no choice but to talk to them because they're there and they're not going anywhere.
How true to life was the movie Ghost?
In my opinion, the connection that Whoopi Goldberg had must have been one of the most amazing connections I've ever seen in a movie. Because as far as for me personally, there's no way that a ghost just walks in the door and just starts talking to me, that I fully see him, fully in front of me, solid as day, and hearing every single word that's coming out of them, and I'm just being like a parrot repeating. And for me, at my journey, they give me these little bits and pieces that I have to put together as a detective. And I have to go into my mental library because I believe that many a times when I'm giving somebody a reading, there is a common thread between me and them. And I would be a fool not to learn the lesson that they're learning, because then I would repeat it, or I would do it and pay whatever consequences for not listening.
Do you think that people who come to you are destined to come to you, or is it strictly by chance?
No, I think it's destined. I think, for me, there's. I mean, Rob, I'll just ask you. I mean, how many times have you passed somebody by, and you meet them, but you look at their face,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow you know them. You can't explain it. You know that you never met them in person. They've never met you, and they could be from another state, another country, and you never met them. But in your brain, in your heart, and in your soul, you're like, I know you.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people come into me, one of the things I always get sucked into is when I see somebody, despite if I seen them on TV and I know who they are, of course. I mean, I'm talking about the other people, right? I'm like, I know this person, so I've seen you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a cheesy pickup line, but I'm so baffled by it because in my heart of hearts, I know it's true, and it's new every single time when it happens. It's almost like it's the first time it happens again. I'm like, have I seen you before? And it's not a pickup line or anything. It's just, I'm literally baffled. I am baffled.
But it is a good pickup line.
I guess so. I mean, I'm a taken man, so I'm not on the market. So there's no pickup lines here. So, but I truly am, and I truly am baffled every time it happens, and I sort of have to laugh because I think to myself, what are these people thinking of me? Like, what am I, some type of fool? And I sort of have to laugh at myself at the end, take myself so seriously.
Based on all the communications that you've done, Jess, and all the people that you've been able to help over the years, what do you think our purpose in life is?
Boy, how much time do we have left on the show?
About 34 minutes.
I'll give you the simplest answer that I believe. Our simplest answer is our life is just experience. We're experiencing life. We're spiritual beings living a human experience, right?
Right.
And we're just experiencing stuff, and we get better as we get through it. And I feel that if you don't learn these lessons, at least in particular in life, you continue to get tripped up on the same thing over and over again. So, if you're walking down the street and you keep falling down this damn manhole, maybe one day you decide, you know what, maybe I'm just not going to walk down that street anymore. I'm tired of falling down the manhole. So I feel it's all about experience.
How hard is it for you? I can tell that you're a very compassionate person, and being a family man, how hard is it for you when someone comes to you that they want you to communicate with someone on the other side who has departed, and that soul, that person that they're searching for on the other side is a child?
The only time that I've ever really have to do that is when I work with the Center of Missing and Exploited Children. If I'm doing a missing child case, would be the only time that I would go into the realm to look for that.
How hard is it for you?
For the cases I'm working on, you know, chances are when I'm getting a case, I already, that it has nothing to be about a psychic. You already know that statistically things already happened.
Yeah.
And you have to take a step back of being almost human in a sense to try to be a neutral observer. And I know that's just not easy, and it sucks. It really sucks. That's what I have to say.
Well, listen, with all the strangeness and all the false claims that many people make on the internet when it comes to their abilities, how does someone who truly wants to get a proper reading, how do they find a good psychic, a good medium with, like, all it takes is about, $13-14, and anybody can have their own website these days. They'll open up shop overnight.
I would always suggest that in every state there are spiritualist communities in them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I always tell people, and this is when I get on the phone with a client, with a prospective client, they say, hey, look, do your homework.
Yeah.
Just because you found my name, number one, doesn't mean I'm going to take you. And number two, that doesn't mean I'm good. So do your homework. And I always tell people, there are spiritualist communities that are out there, and they have people who are constantly giving workshops, who have a reputation. And you can go into those communities and just wait a little bit. I mean, there's always psychic fairs. There's this, that, and the other going on.
Mm-hmm.
And just go there and just watch and speak to people and get a feeling. You know, if you can click with somebody and you feel like they can help you, then that's the choice. You got to go with that feeling.
That gut feeling, the intuition.
You just got to go with that gut feeling and say to yourself, out of all the statistics in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you and this person are meeting on these grounds as you need help and they can help you, right? What's the chances of that if it's not meant to be? And if you can get that good feeling inside of you, then it's for you.
Jesse, you and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation, Jesse Bravo is our special guest. His website is mediumjessebravo.com. That's www.mediumjessebravo.com. And Jesse and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and the Starcom Radio Network. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
Good real estate websites are not just about showing listings, but offering visitors valuable information about neighborhoods, market statistics, tips, and personal insights. Luckily, you will find that on Roost, but you won't on many other real estate websites in Budapest. That's why we created Roost. Roost is a website with tailored results for the foreign investor, curated by Hungarian-loving expats who found their home abroad and decided to roost in Budapest. Let Roost help you get started on the right foot. Whether you intend to live, work, play, retire, or simply invest abroad, Roost offers all types of properties in Budapest, from affordable studios to luxury homes. From neighborhood insights like where to grab a great coffee or how to buy property, our team of local experts can answer your questions and speak to the direct concerns of a foreign investor. Buying foreign property is an exciting and complex adventure. It can also be very time-consuming and costly if you don't have the best information and resources at hand. Roost provides professional real estate services and assistance to an international clientele of foreign property investors and rental apartment owners in Budapest. For more information on Roost, visit their website at www.roost.co. That's www.rooste.co.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My guest this hour is Jesse Bravo. His website is www.mediumjessebravo.com. Jesse, thanks very much for joining us tonight. Great talking to you. I love your energy, man.
Oh, thank you so much. I was a little down today, but this show has got me back up.
Hey, I'm glad to hear that, my friend. I'm really glad to hear that. How can a psychic like yourself help somebody in their daily life?
What I focus on when I do readings is that I have a different business model than most psychics, and I'll explain to you what I mean.
Okay.
Most psychics that you deal in the industry, they want complete repeat business. They want you to come back over and over and over again, because if not, how would they pay their bills, right?
Yeah.
So, in a sense, they may feel they want to help the person, but if you truly have them coming back over and over again, how are you really helping them?
You're creating a dependency.
Absolutely. It's a crutch. So my business model is completely different. I get a person on the line. I say, hey, look, you got one shot to talk to me this year. I'm going to tell you stuff that you're not going to want to hear. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. But if you could avail yourself to some pain and get through this, you won't have to call psychics anymore. I'm like, and if you're willing to do that, great, let's go. And so I only speak to somebody once a year. And what I focus on is I focus on behavioral traits. I go in and I say, look, what is this person doing wrong over and over again that's causing not what they came here and they think they're coming here for sometimes. What's causing the real overall pain? And whatever I get is whatever they get. And if they can focus on that and take care of it, they don't need to call anymore. Now I've just helped somebody's life. I just saved them a bundle of money. Mm-hmm. And I get to move on in my journey, help someone else.
That's cool. That's unique.
It's unique, and that's why people hate me.
Well, you know what? I don't hate you. I respect you.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of the psychics hate me because I educate people into not getting swindled and part of this scams that people have going on.
But isn't that what it's about, Jesse? Helping people?
This is the one thing I found out in this field, mm-hmm. that just because it's called spirituality doesn't mean it's also spiritual, right?
Oh, that I've seen over the years.
So, even when you look at most of the reality TV that deals around the quote unquote paranormal, you're having these spiritual shows made by non-spiritual people because it's all based on the dollar cost average of advertising.
Yeah.
So, I always look at what lies at the heart. And then once you figure out the root, it's easy from there.
Yeah, I find that so-called reality paranormal TV is anything but. I've never seen so much bull crap in my life. I don't even bother watching it because it's upsetting. It's a bunch of bunk.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I know people in the industry. I know a lot of production companies, mm-hmm. and I will say it's all about editing. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, I know that very well because we do our own TV show, and I brought it to a couple of networks, and they said, well, we love it, except it's not sensationalistic enough.
It's not edgy enough. That's the word they use. It's not edgy enough.
Oh, no. With us, it was sensationalistic because we didn't put any shaky night shots in there. We didn't go, ooh, ah. It was
the truth.
The truth.
Nobody likes the truth. Truth doesn't sell for the networks.
I know. And yet, look what it's doing for Donald Trump.
He's a New York guy, so I think it's so crazy, when a guy with that New York attitude gets on that stage, it's crazy.
But you know what? No matter where he's from, this guy is stirring a pot. He is stirring the pot. He is bringing, as I see it, Jesse, and I'm not an American, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But what I see is he is taking it. Your Constitution says "we the people," and I think over the years it went from "we the people" to "why the person." But what I think Donald Trump is doing is he's saying, "Hey, get it back over here. It was meant for we the people." Hey, and you know what? We should build a fence along the Mexican-U.S. border, and we're going to get the Mexicans to pay for it because the illegals come up here, earn our money, and put it back there. So why shouldn't they pay for it? This guy, I think he's great. I wish we had somebody like that up here in Canada running for prime minister.
Well, if you speak enough Republicans, you'll have it because they'll run him out of the country. His competitors, I'm sure, would like for him to go to Canada or anywhere else. Not here.
Hell, we'll take him. We'll take him. Gosh. Yeah. So when you do your media readings and so on, what are they basically? Are they future predictions? Are they the end of the world stuff? What do you do for the media?
It depends on what time of the year it is, right? So, for October time, it's all the same thing.
Halloween.
It's Halloween time, and and I always tell them, I said, look, if you're looking for me to come with like some big hat with a big diamond, like a Swami, with a cape and the robe, I'm like, shove it. I'm not interested. But mostly when they come during the October time, they mostly write a lot about my seances. I've been running a public seance for the public for the last 6 years. So they'll come right about that, and they'll meet the people and get to sit on a seance and understand what it is that I've done. And you had asked me what the purpose of life. My purpose here, particularly as of right now, and it may change, but for now, it's to change the perception of what a psychic medium really is. And what my shift is to show people that it's your mother, it's your father, it's your brother, your sister, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your grandmother, grandfather. It's the guy down the block. That what this is nothing special. There's nothing special that I do. Nothing. And I believe that we all have this gift. It may have taken a little bit of extra time to develop it, but I'm no different than you, than anyone else. So,
I have to argue with you there, Jesse, because, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Doing this show for 24 years, over 3,800 interviews, you're about the only honest psychic I've had on the show.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's the truth. Like you're telling it as it is, and that's very rare, my friend.
Oh boy, I'm known as many different names within my psychic circle in New York, and they're not nice names, and is because it's an unfortunate balance when you have an industry that's really unregulated.
Do you think regulation would help? Do you think that regulation would help?
I would think that not in when I say of regulation, I don't mean like the state or the government getting involved. Though here in New York, I will say that when I give a reading, I have to tell people for entertainment purposes only, or I risk being arrested. But I would say more of if people could get together and say, hey, look, there's got to be some rules of how you present yourself and how you run your business.
Like the American Medical Association or some organization within the organization.
Yeah, have some ethics.
Yeah, exactly.
Teach people ethics. And if you can teach people ethics, then things will get better. I get so many phone calls, and I won't tell you, and there's certain reporters that call me incessantly, but there'll always be some psychic that robs people for a couple $1 million, It'll be a 20, 25-year run of a family that's just been fleecing people forever. And this is all that we have to look forward to, And I would say clean up the act.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this, fine. It's great that you do it. And I don't even care if anybody believes in what I do. It's not a big deal. But at least do it so that it's ethical, it's moral, and that you can leave something for the next person that's actually nice.
What about all these different psychic hotlines?
Well, for me being in sales, right, I know how those operations work. You get some guy who's probably a convicted criminal, right, who's a felon who can't find a job, or people who don't have much educational background, and they get put into a big boardroom, and they're given a script. And these scripts have general tonalities to it that will appeal to anybody. If me and you both got on the phone, I guarantee you after 5 minutes, they're going to hit something, right? I mean, we're only human. There's only so many things a human is, right? There's money, there's relationships, there's this and that. You tap on one of them, and something's going to come out. And so it's a terrible thing. But here's the other side of this, and I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but the other side of it is that if you're a person who's calling those hotlines and you're paying all that money and you continue to call, then Rob, that's on them.
I agree. Consumer awareness, consumer beware.
Yeah, that's on them. We live in an age right now where access to information is literally at your fingertips.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to go and split an atom, I'm sure you can go to the internet and find out how to do it if you had the equipment, right? So with all of that being available, if you go into the situation and you know that this is like I think the best case was like Miss Cleo, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
She was the great. They call me now. I love that lady. Like it was the best advertising ploy in the world. But you know that those are out there. So if a person keeps calling over and over and over again, whose fault is it at that point? It's definitely not the people picking up the phone. You still got to call them.
Sure.
They're not calling you.
Let me ask you something. Sylvia Brown, bless her, she's passed. But how come she wasn't able to predict her own death?
She was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And she truly believed that she had this number in her mind of, I think it was 87 or something like that was the number. She felt that she would die at around 87. And here's where the psyche fractures.
Okay.
When we're being psychic for other people, I have no vested interest, right?
Right.
What happens? My job is to deliver a message. It's neither bad nor good. It just is, right?
Right.
So I can be impartial, to whatever I see of delivering. But when it starts to go the other way around for yourself, we get diluted by our own thoughts, our own ego, our own mind, which does have a vested interest, right? I mean, who doesn't want to live forever, right? So when you get these messages back from you got to remember it's going through your filter. And your filter is not perfect. The message may be perfect, but the way that we're getting it for ourselves is not. So you can't see outside the box. So that's my best explanation for that.
Let me ask you, you and I have been talking now for nearly an hour. Do you have a message for me?
No, when I got onto the show, I was so bummed out. I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat like a pig because I was a little depressed. I'm going to stuff myself so that I'm fully grounded. And I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not going to get excited. And that's exactly what I did. So I stuffed myself where I feel like throwing up and I feel fat. And if you have done a million interviews, you will know that when you do this type of work, it's best to be almost like half starving.
True.
Because, you don't have all of this food inside of your stomach just sitting and absorbing. So when I did this interview, I literally wanted to just be like, just totally like, blah, and, get through it. And I was depressed.
But
so
you certainly don't sound depressed.
No, you know what? For me, I'm seeing a lot of the people who helped me discover me. And that's, for me, that's valuable. And I'm seeing these people pass on.
Yeah.
And then I have to question myself is that who steps up? Who's next in line to step up to keep bringing us down this path? And that scares the hell out of me.
But why?
Boy, it scares the hell out of me because we're not exactly all in great hands. So
listen, I don't know. I don't know anyone who is. Well, I think you're just going to be fine, my friend.
Oh, I am going to be fine. I'm just working hard to try to clean up a very dirty corner. And a lot of these people who are passing on did a lot of the hard work to get us to this point. And it only takes one knucklehead to really put us right back for all the hard work that we did. So so it's just it's always a little bit unnerving when you're in flux.
Something that usually comes up during a conversation when we have spirit mediums on and psychics is Ouija boards.
Okay.
What is your take on a Ouija board?
Well, I will say that I get consulted for movies for it. But for me, my personal experience with a Ouija board is, it's a tool of divination.
Right.
And so because of my belief that everyone has some sort of ability. Now, I'm not saying everybody's a medium, right? Because they're not. But I will say that everybody has some type of intuitive ability, or because it's innate within everybody, right?
Right.
Well, if you go and you play with those things and you use it, that ability will come through and something else will come meet you halfway. What that is on the other side of that, well, that's Pandora's box. It could be something, and typically it's not something great, because anything that's going to really communicate with you through a physical object is not a high vibrational energy anyway. So typically you have the plate. You can have something playful that just wants to joke around on you, which is okay.
Right.
And then you have some things that are downright terrible. I don't know if you know Carl Johnson, but he's a demonologist. What is it? It's Carl and his twin brother. I forgot. What is his twin brother name? But they have a lot of theories on what's on the other side of that board, and it's not like a house. It's not like you move and you're like, okay, I'm done with that house. I'm not going back there. You can't just walk away on your terms. So that's what I have to say about the Ouija board. That's been my experience, and I did use it as a child.
So how do you, when you're doing your work, protect yourself from having anything negative or evil work its way into you?
There is no guarantees. If people say, I hear people say, "Oh,
I say a prayer.
I put this white light, and the Lord, and I put this sage, and I put this water." What does water have to do with anything? What is a smell and a perfume? I might as well use some type of cologne from Polo while I'm at it.
Hey, I like Polo.
Exactly, but it would do the same exact thing. And some sage, some water, some pomegranate. Who knows? My thing is that when I do a reading, I just try to focus on the good. And if I can keep my mind in that space and know that I have nothing to do with the situation, then there's really nothing there to play with. Now, if I start to reach for finance, start to reach for those type of things which people want, at that point, then there could be other things that come in to play to my wants, someone else's needs, or my fears. So when you enter the realm, you run the gambit of something always happening. And if people say otherwise, then that's on them for being foolish.
Jesse, as much as I'd love to continue talking to you, I find you very fascinating. I find you very direct, and I love your integrity. But we've got to say so long for tonight, Jess. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a great pleasure, and I hope that we can have you back on so that we can continue this wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate being on the show.
Take care of yourself, Jesse.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Jesse Bravo has been our guest. His website is www.mediumjessebravo.com. Well, that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So until tomorrow night, from everyone here at the X Zone Radio Show and the X Zone Broadcast Network and my good friends over at the Starcom Radio Network, take care of yourself, be good, be happy, and always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.